Hello, Abhishek. Welcome to the DHIL or the DIL podcast, Digital Health Interventions for Long Time. It's great to see you again, perhaps again after a long time. You're doing wonderful work with your startup and the product that you are developing. But first, I think let's start to know a little bit more about you. Maybe if I can ask and go back to the beginning, when were you born? Where were you born? And we'll start from there then.
Yeah, sure, sir. Actually, I'm honored to be there on this particular podcast. I'm grateful for you for having me on this podcast, essentially. So, talking about my place of birth, I'm from Mumbai, Maharashtra, growing up in this vibrant, fast paced city. Taught me resilience, adaptability, and thrive to the amid of the challenges. And that qualities has always been deeply shaped my entrepreneurial journey. That's it. Yeah.
Well, I think life in a big city is always like fast paced and fairly exciting.
Yeah.
So, where did you go to school?
My education, I just went to school which is in Marathi medium. I'm from vernacular language actually. So we are, it is just near to my home. And essentially talking about the my graduation and post graduation. So I'm a bachelor in pharmacy from Mumbai itself, from Mumbai University. And I've done masters in biotechnology from NIPER Mohali, which is the Institute of National Importance. And there is a short story behind it I want to share about why I've selected the biotechnology as a field, because I was always fascinated about the DNA and RNA, all this stuff, and the essentially protein. I ranked around 76 in my all India rank was 76 for this particular NIPER examination, and I was the first one who chose under 100 biotechnology as a field from the long history of the NIPER administration. And I should say that when we have a selection of the seats and all, everybody used to clap for one seats are getting selected. But I was the only one where I heard less number of claps, because that was the uh, you know that was a turning point for me actually, because biotechnology is a field where I find it very interesting, but I just broke the record of having taking it under 100. That's it.
Wow, I think people thought you're perhaps making the not so right choice. I wouldn't call it as the wrong choice, but
Yeah.
I guess choice depends on personal insights and what you actually want to do with the course. So, well,
Exactly.
that's great that you actually perhaps like increase the barrier for biotechnology aspirants, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and these were like when? I mean, like when were you born? If you can put a year to it, and then perhaps like college, maybe if you can put a year to it, that would be really great.
Sure. Sure. So I born in 1994, July 1994, and I completed my graduation in 2015, that is bachelor, and my post graduation got completed in 2017. Yeah.
Well, so you are still in the 2000s, I guess. What I mean, you're still part of the Gen Z group, or is this a different group that you are part of?
No, we are a millennial part, you can say.
Oh, yeah, the Bachelors. This is where I get it wrong, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are in Mohali, Chandigarh for like 2 years, or how long was that?
Yeah, it was a 2 year course. Sir. It's essentially 1 year. 1 year. First year was to have a theoretical aspects, and second year was a purely practical aspect. Yeah.
How did you find life from Mumbai, busy but slightly chaotic, to Chandigarh, slightly a bit more organized city?
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience actually in Chandigarh. I generally we see so lot of crowd here in Mumbai, but in Chandigarh it was not that much. Essentially, the roads and everything fine for us seems to be very nice. It's a very planned city actually, so we always I love to visit Chandigarh whenever I get a chance. I go there without fail. That's how. And essentially talking about the weather wise, yeah, cold is very pleasing there actually sometimes, but summer is quite difficult to sustain actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
In Mumbai, it is everything is everywhere. In all the whole year, we have a kind of same season in Mumbai.
yeah. I've driven through Chandigarh perhaps like a couple of times, and a few things that I remember. is the police check posts all around, and
Yeah, yeah,
the cheaper diesel that you can actually fill before you start driving around.
yeah, definitely. And the food is also good at Chandigarh.
Yeah,
There are so many outlets of the foods, and there are so many we can say sectors. There are some famous sector like Sector Satara we call it, Sector
okay.
22 we call it. So we have kind of good food outlets there. Yeah.
Well, do you have your favorite bike, car, food? I mean, food other than the food that you have eaten in parts like Mumbai or Chandigarh?
Not really in that particular aspect. So I would like to explore the whatever local cuisine they have. I love parathas from the Chandigarh. That is very much I love them. Essentially, the lassi also is one of the uh,
Yeah,
you can say significance of Chandigarh, or we can say Punjab. In fact, yeah,
that's true. I think I had one of those what you call lassis in Amritsar,
yeah,
the one that is perhaps like a foot long glass.
exactly. That's difficult to finish in a one go.
Yes, that's right. So then from Mohali, what happened?
So after completion of my masters in biotechnology in 2017, I got a job in Intas Pharmaceuticals where I was working where I started my career as a research associate, where I was working on the biosimilars products. So these are the molecular antibodies that I was working in biopharmaceutical sector. So then it was a kind of a monotonous work that I was doing in the company, which I was not liking actually. So I just thought of let's start something on our own where I will be getting more challenged essentially, and we can have more struggles to see actually.
I think that's a right way of putting it, actually.
Yeah,
Doing something on your own isn't exactly the rosy pathway, but filled with struggle. But I'm sure some people do enjoy it.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm enjoying that particular part very well.
Yeah. So then you kind of you had an idea, or then you kind of created a startup, or how does it go next
Yeah,
from?
so I will just walk you through my entrepreneurial journey, what exactly I did. So I
Please.
worked in Intas Pharmaceutical for around 1.5 year, maybe 16 months. And I started my entrepreneurship journey in back in 2019, where all early stage founders struggle to identify which right problem to solve. What they should have a right problem to solve in order to get out from the job and do that. But without having any solid idea or without having any perspective of the real market, I left my job. That was a bold decision I take. Bold decision I took actually. And then during COVID-19, I worked on multiple product ideas with my friends. We have experimented with different concepts, but they didn't turn out as we wanted, as a fruitful we wanted. But during those particular pathway and essentially during the initial path of my entrepreneurship journey, I was very much clear about the one thing, that I don't want to do any kind of an trading or distribution business that generally people do, which is very easy and kind of not in terms of doing the operation wise. I'm saying it is about the risk that needs to be put into the particular process. So I was really clear that I don't want to do that kind of a business. My goal was to build something which is truly innovative, impactful, and valuable to the society. So with that particular aspect, I was just searching, for the problem statement. I was really hungry for the problem statement to be worked on, which has following my criteria. But essentially, the breakthrough came when I got selected for Birac SPARSH fellowship, which will help me to restart with a structured approach. Uh, yeah, and it helped me to restart my journey again for the entrepreneurship. Today, my venture, Medex and Innovation, the Truckies, are the outcomes of the journey, with the immense support from the incubators like Atal Incubation Center CCMP, where I was part of Sparsh Fellow, then Venture Center Pune, and Crescent Innovation Council, Maker Village, and then finally VGTI TBI, which is in Mumbai. We are also part of NSR cell. I am Bangalore incubator now, and I'm currently also part of the Labina Ventures, which is in Germany, sorry, which is in Europe. So we
Okay.
have this kind of an incubators supporting our innovation right now.
Well, thanks for highlighting the difference between so-called bottom line based entrepreneurship, which essentially is similar to starting a kirana shop also, or perhaps a distribution business where it's primarily focused on the bottom line, versus innovation driven entrepreneurship, which essentially focuses on something that identifies the need clearly and then comes out with a innovative solution, and then going through the process of designing it, refining it, and then perhaps like giving shape to it, and then testing, and then perhaps like making a business out of it. So these are two different things, and as you rightly said, uh, more for the second option, which is innovation led entrepreneurship. I think there is a reasonably good ecosystem, and all the stakeholders that you actually mentioned essentially support the innovation led ecosystem.
Yeah.
So, well, perhaps a very delayed congrats, but great that you are selected for the Birac SPARSH program. And then what happened? So, how does that actually help you with finding the idea, or perhaps like what's the process for the SPARSH fellowship?
Yeah, so Birac SPARSH Fellowship has two important aspects. First is I would like to mention, because every entrepreneurs have love to have that. It's a finance at the essential aspect. So uh, Birac SPARSH Fellowship does have a finance part, and essentially they just help us in giving us the getting to know the primary and secondary or tertiary healthcare very closely. So with the help of Birac SPARSH Fellowship, I have spent numerous days, almost 4 months of clinical immersion in different areas like primary healthcare center, as well as tertiary care hospital, and as well as in secondary hospital. But not only in the particular in the metro cities, but we have spent our good amount of time in the rural area also. We got around 300 problem statement after talking to so many stakeholders. We were part of maternal and child healthcare cohort. So we used to talk to pregnant in a rural area as well as in urban area, and we got a 300 bunch of problem statement. So with the help of an Birac Sparsh fellowship, we are able to do that. Essentially, I without having a fellowship, or without having that kind of an the documentation and that, it was very difficult us to get into this particular, and I have never imagined that particular part that I can do without this fellowship. So that has helped us in understanding how closely the system works in case of an whole healthcare system of India. And then the water problem statement that we got, I followed Stanford by Design Innovation System to trail down from 300 to maybe five, best five, and from the best five we came down to one, which is taken further for the product development. Yeah.
So, this Birac SPARSH fellowship and the framework that you actually went through, where did that happen?
So it happens. You are talking about the. I'm not getting. Can you please repeat the question again?
Where's the physical location? I mean,
Yeah, it was in Hyderabad. I was physically incubated at Hyderabad at an incubation center. So where I did all this work.
and the facilities that you enter on, can you also mention perhaps like the name of the facilities, the location, maybe how did you go around, and what kind of framework that you are actually perhaps like following, and you also mentioned the Stanford Biodesign framework. So if you can also explain those things, that would be really helpful.
Sure. So essentially, as a part of my clinical immersion journey, we went to Bapuji Hospital, which is near Hyderabad. It is in Hyderabad, just near the Atal Incubation Center (CCMB). Then we did our immersion in Apollo Hospital also in Hyderabad again. We went to nearby villages in Mehbubabad, actually, Sri Ramgiri and all, where we have seen PSC, how PSC works and all. We have spent around 7 days in during that particular PSC, and we uh, have worked closely with the Asha worker in order to understand what kind of an work they do, what kind of a problem they face and all. And talking about the again, I went to Chandigarh also for the same, because as I mentioned, I never missed even a single chance to go to Chandigarh. So I went to Chandigarh also. I have seen some kind of an some hospitals I visited there. In PJ also, I spoke to some of the clinics also, which is local to the resident area. Then I again went to the Maharashtra, obviously, where getting into the BMC hospital. So there are n number of hospitals in Mumbai, as you're aware of. but getting into the hospital it's quite difficult actually, because working on the maternity and child healthcare, getting a permission from hospital authority is quite difficult. But certainly, uh, the officials of the Mumbai Mahanagarpalika have, or you can say corporation, have helped us in uh, getting entry into the different hospitals. I spent almost uh, for 15 to 20, 15 days in Cooper Hospital, which is a very famous hospital in Mumbai, operated by the BMC. Then I worked in Sahan Hospital also, which is again a BMC hospital. I visited Apollo Hospital in Mumbai again, and there are some primary healthcare centers in Mumbai also got visited. And finally, I continued my immersion in Pune also, near to my village, where we have seen how things are being differently done from than that of we have seen in Mehbubabad, or maybe near villages to the Hyderabad. Yeah,
Okay. So I guess that's fairly a long list of hospitals
yeah,
that you were able to visit. And I believe that process actually helps you when you come from a background of pharmacy, when you come from a background of biotechnology, and then you start relating to the situation on the field, identify
yeah,
the challenges. And you mentioned identifying 300 challenges. I think in some ways that's a small number on the challenges that we have of the healthcare system, but even identifying 300 of them is a fairly huge number and requires a lot of thinking. So how do you kind of take this process forward from visiting a hospital to identifying perhaps these challenges?
yeah. So essentially, we got around 300 problem statement, and that was, I'm just saying, which are solvable. When I'm mentioning 300, there are more to that. There are unsolvable education-related problem statement that we had. As you mentioned, that there are many kind of challenges we have in the whole
Can
healthcare
you
system.
give two or three examples on what you see and how does that actually get listed as a challenge?
Yeah, so I will just take a very famous challenge that we have. It's very important challenge to solve, which is anemia in pregnant. Yeah. So as we know that anemia is something which is a very pressing challenge in in a pregnancy. And essentially, when we were doing our preclinical immersion study and the literature work, we saw that anemia is quite big problem again, and there are few solutions are already available on diagnostic front as well as on the treatment front. But we thought that they are not reaching enough to the to the rural part of an country. So we thought that we will kind of develop some kind of a solution which can help the woman to get better iron, and the anemia will eventually gonna get decrease in that particular way. But when we hit ground, we came to know that government has taken a lot of efforts. So it's a harsh reality that we will come to know once we be on the ground. So when I spoke to people why they are getting tablets, Asha Worker mentioned us that we are giving tablets to every woman. We are making sure that they are getting a good supply of them, and they are able to take the tablets also whenever, and they follow the schedule essentially. But what has happened is that when I spoke to pregnant, it's not one, we spoke to around 30 pregnant in that particular village, and also in the other rural areas. They mentioned that whenever we take tablet, we kind of get an vomiting sensation, and that vomiting sensation, that's why we are not taking any tablets, and that's why anemia is something which is happening. So that was a hard reality to understand. There are enough solutions available. There are enough treatment options are available, but that was a major pressing problem that we have seen during our interaction with the pregnant. And essentially, there is a one case which I came across, like in a Cooper hospital actually. So where there was a one pregnant, she was just standing for the regular checkup in the queue. I I went to her and I asked her, ma'am, what kind of a problem are you facing? Just a basic conversation, having a stakeholders interview. So she mentioned that I'm not taking tablets of iron. I just asked them what exactly the reason is. So she mentioned me that whenever I take the you know tablet, my gallstones get aggravated. So that particular, that's why due to that particular reason, she is not taking tablets, and she have not mentioned that to doctor anyways. Okay, that was a very important aspect. So as a responsible during the field immersion, as a responsible person, I mention that to the doctor because I don't want some comorbidity to happen in the future and if, affect her and her child essentially. So that was the important aspect. So like that, there are we have spent a good amount of time in the normal delivery ward, in the C-section ward, and we have seen what exactly they are following. We used to shadow doctor and nurses in ICU also, how what all process they are following, and we used to note down all the stuff. And then after noting down all this stuff, we used to at the end of the day we will be able to identify what all problems we have identified, and we will to list down them. And that was the another task. So for 4 months we will 4 months we have done same kind of a job in order to get a good amount of problem statement, and then we have refined them with the help of an different matrix. So Stanford by design system of Stanford innovation system comes when we have a number of problem statement and we are not able to select which one to go with. So in that particular line, we there is some kind of a matrix 11 filter system that we have applied, like is it a solvable problem or not. For example, there are some problems which are education related, so we cannot go into that particular pathway as of now because government is doing enough in that particular line. And there are some problems which are currently being uh, currently being solved, but they are still into the very much latent phase. There is huge amount of time is required to develop that kind of a solution. And then there could be stakeholders impact. We have seen if we develop any kind of a solution for the same, how what kind of an impact it is making on the different stakeholders. Is it a positive, negative on the all the fronts of the patient as well as other stakeholders. And then feasibility, obviously, if you want to develop some solution or if you want to solve some problem, it should be feasible to solve. Otherwise, for example, if you want to work on a neonatal area, even if you develop any kind of a solution, it is difficult to get a clinical trial approval from any of the government hospitals, or maybe parents to get, because nobody will allow us to develop that solution or try that solution over the newborn baby. So there are so many factors, there are so many filters. I perhaps I should say 11 filter system that we have applied in order to trail down from 300 problem statement to one, which is currently being developed by us.
So from 300, I guess, like you reached the top five, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you still remember the remaining four?
Yeah, essentially, first obviously that whatever I'm working is the first, which is manual endotracheal tube suctioning. That's one. Secondly, I remember that it's a PPH, postpartum hemorrhage, is very much prevalent. Again, there are many ways that people are kind of improving that particular aspect, but there are still more cases of PPH. Then one of the most pressing problem, and one of my favorite problem, that was it is kind of having a repeated hand intervention to check progress of the labor. So that was the practice that is being conducted by doctors and caregivers in order to check how much labor have progressed, so that they will take a decision based on that, whether it is we can go for a C-section or we can go for a uh,
No.
normal delivery. So that particular process was very much painful for the prima gravida. For the second time pregnancy, that was also still issue with them. So they always has an issue with them actually. But essentially, then that was a major problem statement I would like to work on, but we are not able to find the right solution for the same essentially, because there are multi factors that has to be considered while working on that. And I think, yeah, checking of the serum bilirubin or maybe other electrolytes level, it's a repetitive process in case of in case of a newborn, when they are admitted to the NICU. That was something which is very much pressing problem again, but there are a lot of competitors into it. So the how much competitors are there in this particular market or what, that is also one of the filtration factors for us to work on, to select the problem statement that we are planning to work on. Yeah.
So finally, you kind of selected the challenge that you wanted to work on. But before we go further, I would also kind of mention the perspective on the discussion. As you perhaps know, we have started India's first school of digital health. So The idea broadly is digital health is not simply the software part, but it's also the hardware, the wearable devices, and there are a lot of products that are actually coming out new in healthcare, but again, they all require some element of digitization even during the development process, not just like at the end where we had actually a software. And I think from that perspective, I've seen a lot of your progress where you have come out with a lot of design led kind of a visualization at every step. So I think it's always been fascinating to listen to your presentation and always see what new visualization techniques that you actually bring it out. So now that you have a core idea, can you quickly explain what is the core idea that you kind of finalized? And also, what happens next now that you have an idea? Is it something that you write like, pages on pages, or perhaps like you put it all in text, or is there any kind of a sketch that you have to do? Is it going to be on paper, or are you going to use a software to kind of come out with an initial sketch? So let's focus on that. The process from an idea slowly as it keeps going forward, but also from the design perspective on how design helps to kind of not just fast track the process, but better visualize the process, but also get validation. I think as we keep going, you also done a lot of simulation work also. So I think let's go through step by step.
Yeah, sure, sir. First of all, I'm glad that you liked our presentation, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me walk you through the process of innovation that we followed, and we are still doing that. There is no doubt in that particular process. Essentially, whenever we have a problem statement, what we used to do is that uh, we have done writing a problem statement in a particular way. So Stanford by Design system of innovation has a particular way to write a problem statement, like what kind of an part we want to solve, what for whom we are going to solve it, and how we can solve that particular aspect actually. And there is no solution aspect will come into that. And essentially, we will not call them as a problem statement. We call it as need statement actually in the Stanford by Design system. So once you have a need statement very much clear, then we will be going to the innovation process. That and the first process is to identify what is the scope of particular problem that we are going to solve, or need that we want to solve. So we will list down whatever kind of the scope that we want to look down, and that is very much clear what exactly we want to achieve. Once that is done, then it should be clear to any innovator that is working on that particular need statement. Then the next process is to have a brainstorming on those ideas, brainstorming on this problem statement, how we can solve this particular problem statement with the help of an different kind of an ways. So let me tell you that during a brainstorming process, I have not only involved my colleagues who were there during my fellowship. I have literally involved all accountants from AICCCMB. There were another team sitting next to us, that is CPHMS team. It's just they are sitting next to us, so we have involved them also in the process of innovation. I have included Sweper also in the process of brainstorming. So in order to get a different wild ideas, how exactly what they think about it. So once we got these particular ideas, okay, they have mentioned. I told them, so this is how the problem statement is. This
Can
is
you
how
describe
the
the concept, or can you describe your idea? What
okay.
you
So yeah, I think that makes sense. Essentially, what exactly we are doing is that our product name is Trachees. As name suggests, Trachees is nothing but ease of tracheal secretion suctioning. So we are working in the area where it's for the mechanically ventilated patient by the invasive mode. We are trying to create an automation of secretion suctioning from the tracheal region and other two locations which are essential to take the which are essential to provide a comprehensive care for mechanically ventilated patient. If not done, there are huge complications of that. That is the ventilator associated pneumonia, one of them. So ventilator associated pneumonia is quite a it's a very dangerous situation where it's a dangerous infection where around 20 million patients receive mechanical ventilation, and incidence rate of VAP, that is ventilator associated pneumonia, is about 5 to 40% depending on.
So when you
Uh,
went on your immersive visits, did you
yeah,
actually see people or the babies suffering from these challenges? What is the present device or the technology that is being used?
yeah. So I would like to mention that there are two aspects that I have seen in the during immersion phase. Yes, ventilator associated pneumonia is still a problem in India, and essentially whenever I saw people are doing suctioning, they are doing pretty much with the help of an suction catheter, which are single use suction catheters. As of now, there are closed suction catheters are available in India, but in a government hospital they are not being used because of high cost. In private hospitals, we have also seen that they are using a single time catheters again, and that's a well renowned hospital essentially. I have witnessed few deaths of the babies as well as mothers during this particular during clinical immersion due to ventilator associated pneumonia. So I would just make a small story about it. I will just tell you the small story why we have selected this particular problem statement essentially. Uh, I was I was attending the immersion at hospital in Mumbai, where I saw that in I was in a normal delivery ward. We can we can say, and I saw that one woman gave the birth to the beautiful child actually, and we were I'm just waiting, and that particular lady got into the PPH, that is postpartum hemorrhage, after 4 hours of delivery. So everything was fine till then. She was they have doctor have stabilized her, but after I think 7 8 hours, she again started to go into the PPH. Doctors immediately shifted her to the ICU. They did all kind of an treatment kind of an options to in order to get her recovered from the PPH. But at the end, they have to remove her uterus at the end to save her life. But essentially, she was on ventilator for quite few days, and I was closely observing that particular lady and whatever process that caregivers are following. At the end of fourth day, she died due to ventilator associated pneumonia, and that was a spark for us to work on this particular problem statement. So that's the major driven force for us.
Well, I guess these are unforgettable moments whenever you see unfortunate patient dying right in front of your eyes, and it's always a challenge. And yes, as you mentioned, on one side, even availability of ventilators itself is a challenge in several hospitals,
Yeah.
and although it does a lot of wonderful work, there are also side effects or challenges associated with using the ventilator itself. So I guess there's lots and lots of challenges that need to be addressed. So now that you have an idea on the fact that ventilators are challenging to use, so and then you are doing these stakeholder meetings. How did you narrow down to the actual innovation that you will be working on?
Yeah. So essentially, as I mentioned, that we were doing brainstorming and all with all the many we can say layman's actually. So in order to get a different wide ideas actually, and then we what we have did is that from them again we have applied a five filter system to that. So we need to understand all solutions may not be feasible manufacturing wise, may not be feasible maybe functionality wise. So we have to narrow down to the at least few of them. So we had 100 ideas again on how we can solve this particular problem, how we can take the secretions automatically from the patient. So from that particular 100, we came down to 10 major concepts, and then from the 10 major concepts, we did some kind of a multi-physics simulation, that is computational fluid dynamics, in order to understand whether it is able to take the secretions out or not. So that was the first where we have designed particular solution in a SolidWorks or Fusion software. They are the designing softwares for the concepts. And those medical device, virtual medical device, we subjected to the CFD analysis, and then we identified that which is the best suitable as far as physics are concerned. And then we got a two best solution which are working on them, and that solution we are currently being getting more and more rigorous testing on the same, virtually as well
So
as physically.
when you are talking about the best solution, are
Yeah.
we talking about the materials used or the design of the concept itself, or
No, it's a
perhaps both?
it's a design of the concepts essentially. So whenever we select any kind of a solution that we work on, you know, basically we are working on an airway, which is aerodynamically very much complex in order to understand. If you go into the deeper of that, so we need to have a sweet spot, which is not affecting the ventilation also. At the same time, we are able to take the secretions out easily from the tracheal location. That was a major aspect. Again, technical feasibility should be there. We have very good solution, but they do not have the technical feasibility. Manufacturing is one of the issue that we might face in the future, and we if manufacturing is the issue, we will it is not scalable in that particular line. We had a solution which is difficult to 3D print also. So I remember one thing. I reached out to one of the European vendor to get it 3D printed in a silicon, or I think in a flexible format. They gave me a quote of 8 lakh rupees to print that, just a one piece. Okay, so that was something which is very difficult to see in a conventional manufacturing process. So that's the technical feasibility is the one, manufacturing feasibility is the second that we are focused on. Third is that whether there is a patentability chance or not, because in order to have a greater impact on all, we should able to protect our innovation so that we can have a larger impact on ourselves, and essentially larger impact on the society essentially. And then there will be some other criteria also that we have followed to trail down to few of them actually. So from 100 we came down to 10 with those criteria, and again we have gone to simulation aspects. Yeah.
Well, two parts, I think. One is when people start thinking about innovation, I think there's people associate it with just a spark in the idea, and then everything kind of falls in place. It's not actually. There's a lot of what you call frameworks that can actually help us to go forward. In fact, innovation is not just a great idea, but rather I think what we are doing is more and more of structured innovation rather than idea-based innovation. Ideas are a great starting point.
Yeah.
But going back, maybe that's just the theoretical part of innovation-led entrepreneurship. But going back to your concept, so essentially, you saw a situation which is deeply problematic, and then you came out with a concept, and then the concept needs to be made into a three-dimensional model,
Yeah.
and with SolidWorks, I'm assuming, and then you are actually trying to what you call align the three-dimensional model with operational constraints, which is
Yeah.
the what you call the cavity through which the catheter has to pass, or the ventilator tube has to pass, and then it gives you a lot of operational constraints, because the what you call the channel through which it has to pass isn't exactly very wide, and then you also have the materials that contribute to the flexibility. Again, if it's extremely flexible, then it would collapse on itself. And then
Yeah.
you have the other challenges, as you mentioned. I mean, if you want to create a prototype, you simply can't 3D print it off because of the dimensions that would work in the operational culture. So these are all the challenges that perhaps like one needs to consider and come out with some an optimized solution. There's no this way or that way. So we need to find some kind of a middle way, but something that actually comes out with what you call a positive change that is actually good for the situation.
Yeah.
So there are different components to it. So can you kind of make a list of things that people need to kind of consider while going through the process, and then we can come back to the patenting part a little bit later.
Yeah. So, are you mentioning about the what all skills they should be having to have this particular innovation done, or
Yes,
exactly?
that's right. I mean, what are all the things that we need to consider?
So essentially, as we have worked on the complex aerodynamics of the lungs, essentially, so I will stick on that particular aspects for
Please.
the skills and all. So essentially, whenever we are trying to do kind of innovation, first thing that we need to understand the problem really well. So we need to talk to the stakeholder as many as possible. I think I spoke to almost 75 of them, including cardiologists, pulmonologists, and all the anesthesiologists, and all other who are kind of directly or indirectly related to this particular problem. then that has to be very much well, because doctor have a very small time to talk with you. So essentially we have to frame our questions or frame our question in such a way that we will able to take a most out of it. That's the first important skill I think every entrepreneur or every innovator should have, because that who is working in a healthcare area. Secondly, doing a utmost great literature survey is really essential, because now ChatGPT, Perplexity, like tools are able to do that very quick in a few seconds and all. But I think there are some aspects that has to be really looked into, which are given not in the discussion but in the method and other aspects of the process. So that literature survey has to be very much important. Secondly, once you know that this is how the solution is going to work and all, or this is how we are going to planning to design it, so we know very good designing skills for the same. So that designing skills will help you to actually convert that product into the virtual convert that idea into the virtual prototypes actually. And then as we have done on the we have created the digital twin for the lungs. So there are some software like Simpleware, which is by Synopsys company, where we have taken from hospitals, we took the DICOM images, and the DICOM images was converted into the whole lungs. And those lungs were not actually useful for us, because there was so much of stitching and all those stuff are required. So I think 3D designing and corrections of the existing 3D designs, it's very important skill that every innovator should have. And then essentially talking about the multi-physics dimension, we should understand the basics of it, because there are a lot of good people are out there which are going to help you in this particular aspect. But we should understand the different avenues where how we can make it happen. So in an interpersonal skill is something which is really essential again. And at the end, conclusion, essentially, when we do kind of simulations, and when we do kind of and stuff that we want to get the results out, sometimes results are not in the way, but they are close to our whatever expectation. So while we doing simulation, we got to know that some concepts are not working well, and the concept that I selected was not also in up to the mark. But there's always a good way to predict. So I think predictability is something, or conclusion, how best it is, that has to be criteria, has to be followed actually. And then I think essentially documentation is one important skill that we should have, because that will gonna catch you after when once you have ISO 3485, ISO 13485 approval in the process of that. I think I
So
hope I answered your question well.
yes, I guess so. So this is a step-by-step process that I'm assuming you have
Yeah,
gone through several times, and as you rightly said, it's not as if the answers would be 100%
yeah.
correct or the way that you expected the first time. So approximately how many iterations or how many cycles that you would have gone through?
For the digital twin or for the overall production?
For the overall product, or if you want to break it down into smaller segments also, that's perfectly
Yeah,
okay.
I will do that. So essentially, we started with I started back full fledged on this particular product in December 2023. Essentially, till that time I was finishing my fellowship. So after 2023 till now, we have done many iterations. Essentially, the concept that we have identified, I will talk about the modified endotracheal tube essentially. So modified endotracheal tube is something where we have modified in such a way that it can take the secretions out easily and in automation way. So that concept is getting was iterated and still getting iterated. I think it is 100 time that we have done the iteration. Even the smaller one we counted as the same. Then talking about the digital twin, it took almost 3 months to get a proper model to work on, because we have purchased some lung models. We have uh, spoke to a few of the academicians and the people who already have the lung model with them, but none of them helped us actually. So we have to build on our own. So as I mentioned, DICOM images model also didn't help us, because there was too much of stitching and refining of the CAD was required. So we end up in building our own lung model with the help of the literature data, and we have verified that particular data from the DICOM images that we got. So that kind of stuff that we did, and essentially still we are iterating, but I think we are at a stage right now that we can freeze some of the components of our system, and we can go for a full-fledged testing as of now. So it took almost 1.5 year to get into that particular at this particular point.
I think that that's a lot of perseverance and then perhaps like sleepless nights and also
Yeah,
uh, keeping on doing several things. You have mentioned
definitely.
digital twin several times. Can you expand on what is a digital twin? Uh, Number one, how that is actually developed, but how it is also relevant to the work that you are doing.
Sure, sure. So essentially, I will just go step by step. What's a digital twin? So digital twin is nothing but the virtual replica of a real world system, whether it is a patient lungs or medical device or entire ICU process. It just mirrors the physical system in a real time. As real time, it simulates the behavior. It can predict the failures, and it will help in optimizing without risking the actual system. So that's how digital system will look like. So in our particular process of development, that we know that we are working on a very much aerodynamically complex system, that is lungs for the adults as well as neonates. So we cannot we and having those kind of an setup that is very much very accurate lung system is available only in the few of the hospital, and they're very costly to get into if you want to handle those. So in that particular aspect, we thought that how we can make the innovation very fast, and with this particular limited, obviously limited budget, limited resources that we had. So we thought of creating a digital twin out of it. So we thought we will first create a model for the digital twin. Digital twin is nothing but we have created the adult lung having all the parameters that are going to work on, like inhalation exhalation ratio. We have simulated all kind of parameters which are required to be for the normal functioning of the lungs. Then we created the model, and then we have started testing on these particular aspects to get the process done. Because as we are not able to have access to the physical prototyping, as I mentioned, it was very much costly in a initial ways that some people have quoted 8 lakh rupees. So I've just thought, instead of spending huge money on this in the start, I think we should do digital validation of the product. If that works very well, if physics is right, I think we can go ahead for the physical prototyping, and that should save our money as well as the time. So that's how it is related to our product right now.
Well, I guess that's a very interesting opportunity that is becoming more and more available, where you can have a digital twin and then perhaps like test your concept, and then if it works, in most cases, as you mentioned,
Yeah,
you'll have to refine it 100 times, and then eventually it works again, not 100% as you expect, but at least
yeah,
like 80%, 90%. And then I think it looks more safer and perhaps like more viable to take it up to the real life setting.
yeah,
And your new concept is not just the endotracheal tube, but also there's a lot of associated electronics around it, and
yeah.
there's also a lot of middleware software that is associated with it. Can you also kind of highlight those on how the design actually progressed, or perhaps like how it you had to work on a lot of what you call competing systems alongside. So can you kind of explain this slightly larger concept?
Yeah. So essentially, the trachees is a multi-component system where we have modified endotracheal tube as a core, because that's a very important aspect, which is going to interact with the patient and going to sit in the tracheal part of a patient, and that is going to attach to the ventilator. So we have, as we are trying to automate the secretions of a tracheal mostly, because there are competitors available who have done the oral and subglottic secretion suctioning, but tracheal is something which is still done manually. So that's our USP, and that's where product name trachees came. So trachees has modified endotracheal tube. It has a ventilation suction switch. Then we have a smart suction system, which will have a different electronics, actually embedded electronics into it, and finally obstruction detector. So obstruction detector has a function to tell you how much percent of the tube is blocked in real time scenario. It is interestingly got trained under the model, which is a predictive analysis model that we have incorporated into that. And the data of the same at this particular stage has come from the CFD simulation itself. We have created the different blockages in the tube pathway, and then we got some kind of a pressure change and value change in the different sensors. And that sensor data we have inputted into that particular model to train that particular system. Second, we have a modified endotracheal tube. It's a double lumen endotracheal tube, which is used for ventilation and suctioning whenever it is required. So that particular aspect is so what exactly we do is that at any point of time, both the lumens are doing ventilation. But whenever suctioning is needed, one of the lumen will switch from ventilation to suction to take the secretions out. And once it is done, again it will switch back to the ventilation. So that's a very critical aspect of that product, and where aerodynamic has to be very much you know kind of you can say we have to balance them out. So ventilation suction switch is a that particular part is doing that work. And then we have a smart suction system, which is a more complex, more embedded kind of more of an electronic stuff into that can give you the scheduled suctioning, which is generally being practiced in the current clinical areas. And secondly, we can also do uh, obstruction detector based suctioning, where if doctor mentioned that okay, I don't want to go suctioning for sorry obstruction for this patient beyond 20%, 30% in ARDS kind of in patient. So I think our system will identify okay, the blockage has reached a threshold which is mentioned by the doctor, and it will automatically start the suctioning whatever protocol it is being given to the the given by the selected by the clinicians actually, which are more safer validated in the labs like that. So I think this is a whole truck is looks like.
So all this automation that you mentioned is essentially the software component of the platform
It's a
of the
firmware,
concept.
yeah, it's
Yes,
a firmware.
and this is where, as you mentioned, predictive analysis. A lot of people use the term artificial intelligence loosely, but I guess this is essentially where slowly the system becomes more and more intelligent, and
Yeah,
also can potentially be customized according to the requirements of the patient and also the practicing physician. So this is where more and more intelligence actually gets built into the system, I guess.
yeah.
Uh, Speaking on the patents, like how many patents have you applied, or is this an ongoing process?
Yeah, so essentially, I was able to explain the product. Whatever product that I have explained is it's completely protected by the patents. First, we have a two design patents for the tube designs. Actually, we can operate not only in the endotracheal tube market, but we can also operate in tracheostomy tubes because they are doing one on the same function. Uh, Essentially, we have these two design patents. Then we have one complete specification filed in India. We also got we have also filed a PCT application for the same, and currently we are going in each and every country as of now. So this particular process that we the PCT filing we have done, it is funded by the again Venture Center Pune completely with their cost. So yeah, that's it from the patent end.
And can you quickly explain what is a PCT?
PCT is nothing but that we have to go to each and now we have to pay. We have done India. Patents are judicial in nature. They cannot, for example, you have patent in India. You have a right only to operate in India. Other where outside the India, people can use it and for their own benefit, and we cannot you cannot stop them legally actually. So in this particular, in the help of an PCT, what we do is that once we file an Indian patent application completely, then we can apply for the PCT or we can go directly to the individual country. But considering the startup scenario and the budget constraints and all, we cannot go each and every country easily. So that's why we have to file an PCT application where we will get an additional 18 months to file in each and every countries, where it is for the 18 months nobody will touch that particular patent in the whole world. Okay, so after 18 months are completed, anybody is free to use those if you're not patented in that particular country. But 18 of the PCT will give you a room for filing them into the each and every country, and then you can protect it globally wherever you want.
So, thanks, Abhishek. But there is also another side to the innovation-led entrepreneurship process, which is especially in healthcare, regulation is
Yeah.
there at every step. So, can you please explain the regulatory process that you have been going through, and what kind of details are actually necessary? What are the name for the processes? So, if you can speak about the regulatory processes, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, so essentially, sir, currently we are at the developmental stage of the product, and then most of the regulatory will not come at this particular part. But essentially, we have to So whenever we are doing a concept screening, whatever it's we do consider that how regulatory complex it is. Wherever whatever we are doing, is it class A, B, C, D as per Indian MDR classification. So we do take that under consideration. And currently we are following ISO 13485 process, that because that is something that has to be always followed, because that documentation will really gonna help you while going for other application. So once you have a complete prototype ready, and which is we are right now, we are planning to go for a test license application. So test license application will help you, first of all, to identify which class of the product is. Secondly, it will help you to get the government approval to perform the whatever product that you have on a try it on the clinical patients, actually, with the help of any collaborator or hospitals. And then we will get to know whether it is efficient or not, and then we can reiterate if it is not. Once you have the test license application completed and everything is in a fine way, then we can go for a manufacturing license, and then the process is about business aspect. But essentially, when we have some kind of a predictive devices, like if something in our case it is manual closed catheterless, sorry, closed loop suctioning devices we have already in the market. So these are predictive devices for us. If you don't have any predictive devices, that you then you have to do animal studies also before applying for the test license. So that is some additional step that we have to get into, and that's kind of it's a mandate for us. And then once you have a test license application done, then you have to have all kind of, and now it's an electronic system going to be on a medical grade medical environment. So your product should be whatever material that you are using and going to getting directly touch on the patient's skin or maybe invasive way, that has to have some test that has to be followed, like bio there are some biosafety steps that you need to understand. If it is electronic, then some IEC 60601 and any applicable IOC has to be clarified. EMI EMC testing has to be done, because your system should not disturb or whatever EMI or radiation that system are creating to the components should not disturb other systems which are there in the hospital, and should not affect the functionality of the same. So EMI EMC is required. So these are the basic stuff that we required after having test license and before going for clinical trials, maybe pilot or maybe first glance of it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for walking through the process. So I guess like perhaps this is where in future we could potentially collaborate with Modality Vishwavidya, having a clinical trial center and also fairly having access to a larger hospital. When you mentioned about this predictive product, I'm assuming it's the reference product or a
Yeah.
similar product that is already approved by the governmental agency, and you are trying to compare it and see how good it is or how better it is, or perhaps it has similar characteristics.
Yeah. Yeah. It should have the
Uh,
same functionality, actually.
okay.
Function should be same. Yeah.
So, how long do you think all this kind of regulatory what you call processes takes? How long you have spent from the start date, as in like the date you decided approximately that this is the concept that you are going to work till now? How long it's been, and how long is this journey, at least in this version of this product, will potentially take?
Yeah. So essentially, as our product is kind of invasive. Okay. So in that particular line, we thought that digital twin simulation is going to help. I will highlight why that particular topic we have touched upon by doing this kind of an testing. Our product is like invasive in nature, and that has to be done. So much of rigorous testing needs to be done in that line. So whenever we see that our regulatory pathway is quite long in that particular aspect, but we being up we are really practical about it. It will take at least 2 years to get through the clinical trials from the today's date mainly. And currently our product is semi medical grade. In the next 6 months we will have a complete medical grade system that can be go into the clinical trial. So I think I can say that around 2.5 years will be there to take the product into the market, uh, going through the clinical trials essentially. And then why I took the digital twin analysis very seriously, or why we are doing that particular thing in this process is not only to improvise on the design that we are currently working on, but there is a second important aspect to it, that is people have tried, or you can say the company like Medtronic and the other bigger player have tried simulations, and they reduce the number of subjects that are being administered in the clinical trial registry actually. So if I want to give an example, that Medtronic pacemaker study, so US FDA, after doing functional testing on a simulation platform, they have reduced 200, I think 200 plus patient for the clinical trial. They have reduced that particular number for them, due to which they have saved millions of dollars, and essentially they have able to come to the market very early. So we are kind of hoping that this particular digital twin analysis and whatever CFD analysis that we have undertook using ANSYS Fluent software should able to help us in that particular way, and we are able to fast track our time to the market actually. So yeah.
So, to kind of briefly summarize, you would have spent around already 2 to 3 years and looking forward to working on this for another 2.5 years. So it's like a 5 year journey
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
And how much would have been the cost of this journey so far, and how much do you anticipate approximately? I mean, these are like approximate numbers.
Sure, sure.
Uh,
So
how much is it going to cost further going forward?
essentially till now, we have done in this particular part in I think 2 million annual, or whatever the development that we did, to 2.5.
You are talking in US dollars, Indian
No, no,
rupee,
in INR I'm saying.
INR.
Okay,
Two
we
million
can
is 20
for the
lakhs.
better clarity, it is 25 lakhs, around 25 lakhs amount I have used till now for the development of this same whatever development that we did. And I see that around 2 CR will be required to take this product to the market, including clinical trials and all kind of an development that we need to do on this particular system. Yeah. It's an approximate number, it may vary, but yeah.
About 2.5 crores for a 5 year journey, and that's not adding up to the cost that perhaps like you should have paid yourself at some point in time.
Yeah, yeah, that is
Yeah.
excluding that. That is excluding
Yes,
that.
yes,
It is just for the product. Yeah.
yes, that's right. Perhaps like to wrap up our fairly long discussion, there are a lot of skills that you would have actually learned as part of this process.
Yeah.
Now that we are starting up or perhaps started India's first school of digital health, what kind of skills do you recommend that needs to be kind of included in the curriculum? Because I'm assuming all this that you have actually learned is not something that was taught during your pharmacy
Yeah.
college, or perhaps like during your masters in biotechnology, and you have learned a lot of new skills. So can you please highlight maybe two, three, or perhaps like more, not 100 though,
Yeah.
skills that can be included in our curriculum?
Okay. So essentially, the most important skill in this particular age is to use ChatGPT very well. Essentially, it's a prompt engineering that speaks for all. Essentially, let me tell you that whatever system that currently we are working on, like it may be electronic system or maybe simulation system and all, it was developed with the help of a ChatGPT, and I will not hesitate to say that around 98% of my code of a embedded system, it is written by ChatGPT itself. So just 2% of them is written by manually, and that too also where ChatGPT is not able to understand that in that particular aspect. So I will not hesitate in saying that. Essentially, so ChatGPT is very much essential. It's a companion for you to get into the new skill.
People say that AI is going to come. What you are trying to say is AI is already here and
Yeah,
helping
yeah,
you.
exactly. So Google have mentioned that they are using around 45 to 50% of code is written by ChatGPT, but in our case, obviously we are not that big. It's not that complex system. But whatever system that we are currently working on, it is 98% code is written by ChatGPT. So it's a companion for us. Don't consider it's as a threat, but it's a companion for us. And then second important skill that we want to understand is all about the maybe modeling, actually 3D modeling, that has to be really taken care into the curriculum. And there are many softwares that are available to work on those particular aspect. There are multiple ways that how we can create a digital twin based on literature data as well as based on the DICOM images. I think that software needs to be included in the curriculum, and the process, how whole innovation process happens in the system, that has to be covered. Again, which kind of a model will be really helpful to work on is really difficult to understand, because I know that there are multi models that are available. Actually, all models are right, but some of them are useful. Actually, it's a famous thing that my mentor Hemant Punekar sir have mentioned to me. He's from ANSYS, working as a principal engineer there. So he always mentioned that whenever whatever model that we are trying to work on is not always going to give you the, they're always useful, but some of them are going to be helpful for you actually for current scenario. So I think understanding of the multiphysics, that is really really essential, because digital age is going to be completely physics aspect. I would not. I last skill I would like to mention that coding, but I will not say that, because ChatGPT do pretty good amount of work, so that's not a worry actually. But yeah, certain aspect, and importantly literature survey, that is really essential to do that, because if you are not clear about the physiology and all the stuff of the system, it is difficult to get into the critical aspects of the same, because whatever inputs you planning to give should able to give you better output. So if your inputs are not right, output is going to be not right. It is not going to be close to the real scenario. So in our case, essentially we did digital tool simulation twice. Essentially, first we have outsourced it, so that outsourcing has not given a fruitful, you know, you can say fruitful matching with our current scenario. But second time, whatever we did, it was very informed, and Hemant Punekar sir and our teammate have worked on this particular part, and then we got something which is very much close to the real case scenario. I think that particular aspect has to be run very quickly.
Sure. Well, even though ChatGPT gives you the code, most of it, you still need to understand the code so that you will be able
Exactly.
to make the best use of it.
Yeah.
So, it's been a great talk actually. So, let me broadly try to summarize. You had this idea that you are going to start your own business, and usually it happens other way around, where people have an idea and then they try to start a business. But in your case, you wanted to start a business and found the right idea. I mean, it can go either way, but I think and then you went through this immersion process, which you identified hundreds of ideas and then went through this framework to narrow it down to something that is more and more doable. And then you use the Stanford biodesign process to further refine and then identify how to kind of take that concept forward. And then it was a series of trials and errors, and perhaps like identifying new things like digital twins, and then doing simulation studies, and then trying to optimize, trying to understand the materials, trying to
Yeah.
understand how things actually work in context with the digital twin, and perhaps within the operational constraints that human body actually imposes on all these new ideas. So it's been a long process, and
Yeah.
I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it, because there's still 2.5 years at least to
Yeah.
go forward.
Exactly.
Uh, it's been wonderful talking to you, and I always kind of look forward to your presentations and to see the new things that you keep doing. Well, we'll be in touch, and
Yeah.
we'll hopefully find ways to kind of collaborate, as you mentioned, at least on the clinical trial area.
Yeah.
And best wishes, and hopefully, uh, especially for the fundraise that you need to go through to continue your work. So, thanks a lot for sharing your experience, and I hope that you continue your work forward, and then it reaches the light of the day, and more and more patients do get benefit out of your work. Hopefully, your product can save lives, and maybe more people should not go through the situation of ventilator-induced infection.
Yeah.
And perhaps like you can save more lives. Any parting thoughts?
Yeah. So Yeah, first of all, I'm really glad that you invited to this particular podcast. I'm really happy to contribute in any way that I can do to your journey because it's the first digital school that you're starting up. We would love to collaborate on that aspect also, and essentially, yeah, it's a great collaboration opportunity we can see in terms of clinical trials essentially, and yeah. So last takeaway is that I will not talk about into the what aspect and the things actually, but I can mention one thing that there are good people available actually. There are so many good people out there who are gonna help you in a journey if everything is right actually. Essentially, whatever kind of mentors I have in my company onboarded as of now, they're kind of helping us me without having any without having any, you can say, second thought actually. So so I just want to understand that, I just want to tell you, the listeners of the same is that if you are working on a really right on really real world problem, people are there to help you. People are going to in that particular share your journey actually, and they will try to make you the success. So I think we have to take the most of it from them, and I'm really thankful for all kind of mentors that I'm having, including you, sir, because you have essentially helped us initially in the screening of the top five to top one, meaning importantly. So that aspect was really helpful, and other mentors were also there. So I think mentors were somewhere where they're gonna help you in that particular pathway, and they're gonna enrich it actually. So yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And perhaps, as a continuation of this, we'll try to make a case study of your work. And as you mentioned, that will also help some of our future students and perhaps like people who would want to listen to this podcast and also have something in paper to read through. Maybe the case study will become part of the secondary literature review that somebody else would actually do to understand the process. Well,
Yeah,
thanks a lot, and thanks a lot for sparing your time.
yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for your wishes.
Thank you.